In a previous video, I took a tour of my local e-waste place, and a lot of you guys liked that. So I thought I would do it again, maybe make it a regular occurrence on the channel. So let's go to my e-waste place, I'll put on some music, and we'll take a look around and see what I can find. Then we'll take it back to the Retro Hack Shack and test some of it out. It's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack After Hours. Well, to be honest, I wasn't even going to record this because when I first walked in today, I didn't see anything inside that was worth filming. But then I found these bins over here, and do you see what I see? That's right. I see a bunch of cool vintage computery stuff. Yeah, let's go with that. So first thing is these keyboards. There's a whole box of keyboards, and looky here. That's right. It's a Model F, IBM Model F keyboard sitting right in this bin. There's some AT&T keyboards in here as well. This Gateway 2000 up here at the top, by the way, keep that in mind because that's going to come back later. Even though that one's a little bit too yellow for me to save, it'll be interesting. Little tidbit there. I always try to guess what comes in together, but yeah, some really interesting keyboards. And you never know what you're going to find here. You can go from looking at some Kingston memory to, whoa, handcuffs. What's going on? And there's even more interesting things sometimes. Let's just not go into too much detail there in case the kids are watching this one. Now, I started going through this smaller bin. There's some good stuff in here. And look, here's a book by Jack Newcomb. Must be a namesake. We're all related if you spell the E. I don't have an E on the end of my name, but this person does. But we're all related if you go back a few generations. And here is a rather beat up IBM ThinkPad. These tops of the laptops get really gooey. The whatever coating they put on there just disintegrates over time. But here it is, IBM laptop. This one is just a little bit too beat up for me to keep, I think. I decided to dig down a little bit further, and hey, here's a Dell, what is this, Dell Latitude CPX. Those aren't bad at all. I used one of those back in the day. Looks like it's got some cards left in it, some PCMCIA cards. And then I wanted to see what was in this other laptop bag. You got to go through these because sometimes you find some good stuff, and what do you know? It's another IBM ThinkPad laptop. This one's not quite as beat up because it was in the bag this whole time. And so this one I think I will keep as long as I can find the power supply for it. And sure enough, by digging down deep enough, da-ding, there it is, the IBM power supply I was looking for. So I'll just go ahead and tuck that into this case. Also, I wanted to dig down and see what else I could find because this is obviously some sort of IBM mouse cable, video cable, some sort of PS2 cable here. So I dug down, but unfortunately, this is all that was left. Just they had cut off the mouse, I guess, from the other end for some reason. So that's unfortunate. But if you know what cables are what and what they look like, it's always a good idea to kind of dig down and see if you can find the accessories for this stuff. Just trying to see if there was anything else underneath those keyboards. There was a Microsoft mouse there. Perhaps you saw it. And this thing is a dictaphone or a recording. Takes normal size tapes. You can record all your messages on there and send them to your secretary. And then she, I guess, I'll make the assumption back in the day, not anymore, but the secretary or executive assistant could go ahead and type out all of your notes that you recorded. It has a nice little mic that goes with it too. This is pretty cool, but again, it's pretty beat up and not really in my wheelhouse. So I think I'll just leave it here. And you always have to be careful about personal belongings that end up in these piles. This is a wallet of some sort, so I was kind of hesitant to dig through here, but all I found were a pair of early 80s glasses. Do you remember those big glasses that people used to wear back in the day? Well, this was somebody's glasses, and they left them in their purse. I found a lot of AT&T related things. Here's an AT&T phone, an AT&T foam stress ball kind of thing, and a lot of AT&T paperwork and stamps, things like that. So whoever donated this must have worked for AT&T at some point. How many of you were the TV remote for your parents back in the day when you had to get up and change the channel on something mechanical like this? This was the Viacom Cablevision channel switcher kind of thing. And look, here's a game switcher like for an Atari or something like that. That's pretty cool. I'm going to keep that. I found a few other things that I wasn't able to capture on camera, but here's a look at the TVs they had in stock. Some of these I've already tested and they're not working. There's some sort of a security camera thing, and that's kind of interesting. You know, lots and lots of tube TVs. You can't save them all, unfortunately, but one thing I did see was this back here in the back. This interested me because I saw the little LCD display on the front of it. It's a VGA monitor, and it turns out this is Gateway 2000. So I wonder if this came in along with that other load that had the Gateway 2000 keyboard in it. It's got a lot of inputs on the back, so I'm definitely going to take this and test it out. And while I'm loading up the card, that gives you just enough time to check out the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. PCBWay offers low-cost, high-quality prototype PCBs and a whole lot more. And from now until November 10th, you can enter into their 3D printing design contest. That's right, there's two different categories you can submit. You can either create a version of their official mascot Ian, or you can create your very own original character, figurine, or doll. First prize gets up to $500, so submit your 3D printed design today, and I thank PCBWay for sponsoring the Retro Hack Shack After Hours. All right, well, let's go ahead and pick up right where we left off at the eWays facility I go to and talk about the monitor we were just looking at. Now, I brought this back. The only thing I've done to it is I cleaned it up with some Windex, and that's it. So this thing is in fantastic shape. Only thing I can find wrong with it externally, at least, is that it's missing its cover. It's the little cover that goes over the buttons here, but that's okay. Maybe I can 3D print something to go on here and cover that up. We'll see how that goes in maybe another video, but this thing is one Mac daddy of a monitor. It's the Crystal Scan 1776 LE, and this was sold with Gateway 2000 systems in 1994. So it really is amazing how good this thing looks. You're seeing some glare right now. This thing is so big and so heavy. It's about 4 inches longer than a typical 17-inch monitor would be that came out maybe a few years after this. It's very deep, very heavy, so I hope it works. But it's so heavy that I can't adjust it down. It does have this really cool swivel thing on the bottom. It's kind of like Lazy Susan with a tilt thing. It's not your typical swivel monitor tilt stand that comes with newer style monitors. This thing was really built very well. But to get it to tilt down, I think I'm going to have to use two hands, and I still don't know. It still doesn't want to tilt down. So there it goes. It's just so heavy there. Did I get the glare out? Yeah, I got most of it out there. Just really, really heavy monitor. That's the only downside to this. Now, taking a look at the front, you can see we've got probably contrast and brightness here still on analog pots, which is interesting, but this was what really caught my eyes, this LCD display, and I looked up a little bit of information. I guess this will show you the actual mode that you're in, so if you're 640 by 480, or I think this thing all goes up pretty much all the way to 1440 by 900 or something, which is unheard of in 1994, but that'll tell you what mode you're in. So kind of cool technology that they built into this high-end, high-performance monitor. And then we also have some buttons over here. There's a degauss, there's vertical size, there's vertical position, there's horizontal phase, I think that says, and horizontal size. And then over here we have a recall program. So I guess you could like set everything up the way you want and then probably hold this button down and it would store your settings, which is kind of cool. And then all the way over here on the end, it looks like there's a preset or some sort of preset configuration or user configuration. So not exactly sure. I couldn't find the manual for this, so I'm not exactly sure how that works. And then over here, there is I think this is for the input. There's a D sub input or a B and C input, and we'll take a look at that when we look at the back of this beauty. And here we are on the back. By the way, there's no label on the back of this like you would get on most monitors, just the Gateway 2000 logo right smack dab in the middle there. So that's kind of different from most monitors at this time and even later. But on the back, we have a whole host of inputs, and this is what really got me excited. I mean, number one, just having a detachable power cord is a luxury because these things always get in the way. So this came with a port to plug in the power instead of having a permanent fixed power cable. Super nice. And then I'll come back to this in just a second. You can see here there's two different D-sub connections there. There's one for VGA and another one for, looks like a Mac connector. So this could connect to either one. We'll have to test that out a little bit and see if that works. And that brings me back to what I skipped over before. This switch here is an impedance switch. So there's high impedance and 75 ohm. And so what I'm wondering is if potentially you could daisy chain monitors, because usually what that means is that you have the capability of connecting multiple monitors. So perhaps you could daisy chain these monitors, and that's what that switch was for. And there's also, of course, this. Oh, so cool. We've got RGB built right in with BNC connectors. Are you serious? This is super, super cool. So we've got red, green, and blue here, and then there's horizontal or a combo sync port there, and then that last one is for if you have a separate vertical sync, that's where that would go. And then the only other thing on here is just right over here and back, you can kind of see those controls kind of peeking out of the holes in the back there. The top two, which are blocked off, are, they say, convergence, and then that bottom one there is for pin cushion. So it does have manual pin cushion adjustment, I guess, in the back there. But I am so happy to see RGB. This might be, it's not going to be my daily driver just because it's so heavy, but I might be using this a lot if it's actually in really good shape. Definitely, if it needs recapping, this is one that's probably worth recapping for sure. Okay, I've got my testing gear here, my monitor testing equipment. Got this thing plugged in. Let's turn it on and we should get a picture, I think. Here we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. It didn't do anything for a while. It says Gateway 2000 non-interlace 1024 by 768 at 76 hertz. And that's interesting. That's not what I'm sending it. I'm actually, according to this, I'm sending it 68.7 kilohertz, or 85 hertz rather. 85, I guess, would be the corollary there. So maybe it can't quite figure out the vertical refresh rate, but let's just go ahead and get this on a color pattern so we can see color. There we go. Ooh, yeah, that looks good. Nice, bright colors. I'm going to have to fix the camera here. Hang on. Okay, I'm back, and I can definitely verify, because I had to adjust the shutter speed of the camera, that this is 85 hertz. So it is what my test equipment, my video tester, is telling me. It's 85 hertz. So the display down here is actually incorrect. Now I'm going to try a couple more of these display modes. We'll see how far we can pump this up, but I'm not going to do all of them here because I've got more stuff to show you, number one. And number two, every time I do this and change the vertical refresh rate, I've got to change the setting on the camera to get it to stop flickering. So let me just see how high I can push this, and I'll be back in just a second and we'll take a look. All right, well, this is as far as I could safely push it. This is 1280 by 1024 at 60 hertz. So that's as good as I could get. It almost synced up in, there was like a 1600 by whatever, 1200 or something range that it almost synced up. It said out of range down here, but it actually almost did it. And then when I started going to colors, it started getting dim, and I didn't want to damage the monitor, so I just stopped. So this is as far as I feel I can safely push this. And yeah, hopefully it's not flickering too badly. Let's just go ahead and try out some of these buttons. I don't know if I mentioned the degauss button or not, but that should, degauss the monitor. Yep, and it does. Nice. And then let's try the user versus preset mode. Oh yeah, that does, it rolls over. It's like interesting. So I bet in user mode, you could, let's just try this real quick. Let's move it like way over here. Okay, so that's as far over as it goes in user mode. And then I bet if I change it back to preset, yeah, it goes back to where it was. That's interesting. So yeah, pretty cool. I don't have time to test out the RGB, but I'm sure it works. I've got to make sure I've got enough of those connectors. I don't have the BNC cables required, so I've got to use the little adapters that go from BNC to RCA and then use RCA cables, and it's kind of a mess. I don't think I have enough of these because I need 8 of them in order to make that work. But man, this is a winner chicken dinner. I'll be showing this off when I'm testing future desktops that I find at eWaste for sure. Very, very cool monitor. As I said, it was really hard to find any kind of manual for this thing at all. I found some reviews, which, there were some good reviews. I also found a price. This was sold in 1994 with Gateway's highest end computer, the P66 model, I think it was, for like $4,000. Not the monitor itself, but the whole system was $4,000, and they only offered it with the highest end thing you could buy. So that tells you a lot about this particular monitor. It's probably cost them a lot to ship it. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Let me know if you had one of these and you know anything about it. Let me know in the comments below. What did you do with it? What did you use those RGB connections in the back for? Did you use it with a Mac or a PC? I don't know. I want to find out. Tell me more in the comments. Okay, well now we're on to the second thing I wanted to show you, and that is this, an IBM PS1 computer. If you know these computers, you will know that they were introduced in 1990, and it was supposed to be a easy to use computer, kind of the spiritual successor of the PC Junior, which of course was a terrible flop for IBM back in 1984. But similar idea here. It was supposed to be a computer that you could set down, hook up in 5 minutes or less, and get up and running very quickly with things like, I think it had like a built-in menu-driven system in ROM, for example, and things like that, and a couple other special features which we'll get to in just a minute. But let's first just take a look at this thing. It is very classic, very small, pizza box-esque type of computer. It's got a floppy drive here on the front, and let's go ahead and take a look at the back, and we'll talk a little bit more about what makes this particular model a little bit different. Okay, I've propped this up so we can take a look at the connectors, because it does have this little hood on the back. Now this model of this particular unit is 2011, which was the first IBM PS1 that they released. So this is the OG PS1. So pretty good if you are a collector to always have like the first of something that comes out. Now, the problem with this particular model comes in when we take a look at the ports in the back. I left the monitor out hoping that we could just plug this in and maybe do a quick power up test for shorts and things like that, and then power it up and just see if it was working. Well, that's not going to be possible. And if you know the PS1 line, you know why. And that is because this unit, to make it simpler for people to use, was powered by the PS1 monitor. So the power supply for the computer was inside the monitor. There were separate cables, one for the video connection, and then this other DB15 here, which was not a joystick connector, it was not a Mac connector. This was a secondary connector that went to the monitor, and that would supply the power for the PC to run. So without one of those monitors, you're kind of out of luck. And I looked around, I do not have one of those monitors. So there are some ways that I think that I could probably bypass the power here. It takes 36 volts in, and it does have an audio connector and ground back here. So it should be pretty simple to make a replacement power supply, if you will, so that you could run this on a standard monitor like the one we were just looking at. But for now, we're not going to be able to do that. But we will look inside and just see what's there. But also on the back, you have a parallel port for a printer. You have your PS2 keyboard and mouse here. And one of the things that these came with, I believe by default, was a modem, which was kind of a new and special thing. And the modem would allow people to connect to online services. So we would be talking about things like the Source for looking up database stuff, or CompuServe would be another one where you could dial up and access information. And the whole point about this was they were trying to make it simple for the end user. Simple to use, just hook up the cables. You can't get them mixed up really. Well, I guess you could with the keyboard and mouse, but everything else, you can't get it mixed up. You just plug it in, turn it on, and one power switch on the monitor, and away you go. There's also an add-on card up here. I'm not quite sure what this add-on card is for. It might be the additional sound card, which would be nice. I think there was a joystick and a MIDI module that you could get with this that would let you, of course, hook up a joystick and do MIDI things with it, but that might be what that is. I'm just guessing at this point. And it's got a very tiny fan for a PC. Compare this to the fans that people use today. This thing is tiny in comparison. So we won't be able to power this up today, but maybe this would be a good candidate for a restoration video where I talk about how to make your own power supply, and we get everything back up and running the way it would be in 1990. So you didn't see this in the video while I was looking around because I wasn't recording at that point. I had forgotten to turn my camera on because I was so excited. But basically this was in a pallet of one of those big cardboard pallets. So it's a pallet with a big cardboard box on it that's as big as the pallet is. And a lot of times they'll take those and put them like at a school or something, and people donate their electronics and whatever. And this was down inside there underneath couple of printers and not even vintage printers, but they were just like, modern printers, a vacuum cleaner, some things like that. And so I dug this out because I recognized what the potentially it was when I saw the size and form factor. And sure enough, it's in great shape. It just needs a little cleaning. I can't believe it was in there and didn't get dinged up somehow. Let's just go ahead and get this open and see what's inside. Now I noticed that the front panel kind of comes off, and I think that's how you get into this. Is that the panel comes off and then you can slide the cover off. Let's see. Of course, now it's not doing it. It was coming off like so easy before. Now I can't get it off. Oh, there's one side. Ooh, what's that? Uh-oh, that's not good. This is a capacitor. I hope that didn't come from inside this thing. This is a surface mount cap. This could be bad. Okay, there's the cover. And there's a little latch right here. Not sure you can see that, but I think if we just push that up, yeah. Ah, there we go. Okay, so we're in like Flynn, and let's take a look at some of these components now. Well, there's one component missing, is a couple of feet here. At least 1 foot, if not 2 of the feet are missing, so this thing's tilting a bit. But we do have a 30 megabyte hard drive, so let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that this is working when I can get this thing powered up. That would be amazing. And then also, of course, we have the floppy drive here. We have I believe it says card 2 on it. And I'm pretty sure that this was the audio/joystick card. You think that would be pretty common for people to get. And just take a look at this coil up here on top of this. I don't know if there's actually a chip in there, if that's just like an upside down socket or something. Really interesting, but this coil is all wired to all of these connections here. That is so weird, and it goes right to the top of the case. I mean, there's no room left over for this thing to fit. They really packed it tight. And then down underneath there, of course, is the modem card. Now, one thing I'm noticing, except for the floppy cable here, everything else looks proprietary. There's also, if you can see down in the middle there, looks like an MCA card slot, although I don't know. Maybe that's for a riser or something, like maybe you'd put a riser and then the MCA card would go in place of this one, because there's no place for the card to go through the back, and it's not really tall enough for any normal cards to fit in there height-wise. But yeah, so that's proprietary, obviously. And then even there's an adapter here on the back of this drive that does not look like a standard IDE cable. It could be wrong, but it's got a weird connector on it. So yeah, lots of proprietary stuff inside. This thing looks to be in good shape. I don't see any dust or anything inside the board, but we did have that capacitor that fell out. So, I mean, the electrolytics I see like back here on the board are through-hole capacitors. The only electrolytics I see that are surface mount are like on the back of the hard drive here. There's a couple. So yeah, I don't know. Once we get this thing apart, we can take a better look and see if there's perhaps some sort of capacitor missing somewhere. And maybe that means that there's leakage somewhere too. I also don't see a battery on this thing. Like I said, I'm not going to take it apart right this minute. I'm going to save this for a restoration video, but very cool thing to find randomly at eWaste. Okay, I do want to test out that Model F keyboard and another classic monitor that I found, so stay tuned for that. But I want to give a couple honorable mentions to just all kinds of stuff that I also found on this same trip to eWaste. One is a Atari 7800 joystick, just sitting in a bin. I mean, it's in good physical shape. It's not scratched up or anything. It's just dirty and probably needs some servicing to the buttons and the joystick, but that was kind of cool to find. It's always nice to have an extra Atari joystick around. I also found these typewriter ribbons, these Lexmark, IBM/Lexmark typewriter ribbons. These were for, I think, wheelwriter typewriters. So if you have a wheelwriter typewriter, I found a whole box of these, and they were split between these purple ones and these orange ones. You can see the model numbers there. I've put these on my eBay store, and I'm selling them in packs of 3. I forget how much I'm actually charging for them. Not much. I don't usually try to overcharge for these things, but if you're looking for these particular ribbons for a wheelwriter, a typewriter, now you know where to go. Those are there, so go pick them up while they last. I also found what I think is the owner or previous owner of all this stuff that was dropped off. Now, there's no address, social security number, anything on this badge, so I'm just going to go ahead and show it. But this is Ronald Eckerd. Ronald Eckerd, if you're out there, I have your AT&T badge, and you will not be able to get into AT&T anymore back in the year 1990 without this badge. So if you go back in time, you're going to need this. So get in touch with me and I'll get you your badge back so you can do that time traveling. This was in a bunch of stuff that was dropped off at eWay. So yeah, get in touch with me. Yeah, look at Ronald there. Good looking guy. He's got the mustache going, holdover from the 80s, and he's got his suit on. He is ready to do some work for AT&T. And it's always cool to go through these things and just see what you find. I don't know if these were Ronald's notes or whatever, but there's a bunch of cards in here with like notes and things on them. This one says new publication, creating an Apple, creating a, and then he's got Apple, Timbuktu, host : Mac 0, observe, some pretty cool stuff. Oops, we don't need that. This one says FAT, file allocation table, root, block, track 0, sector 0, partition. So it looks like, whoever's notes these were, they were actually taking notes about computer stuff. Here's setup repair course, fundamental concepts of computers, week 1, keyboards, monitors, power box, not power supply, power box, system unit, floppy drive, stiffy drive? What? Stiffy drive? Okay, maybe we should put these cards back. No, just kidding. And then we've got printer and mouse. So yeah, somebody's, notes that they had, I don't know, it just makes me feel a little bit more in touch with whoever had this equipment and was using it, to see this kind of stuff and the kind of things that they were doing back in the day. There were also a ton of stamps. So I thought we could take a look at this one and see what it says. It looks like a custom stamp. It might be written on the back there, but I can't read that writing. It's too small for my eyes. And there was a lot of ink and stuff. This is a stamp pad inker. I think it's like a roll-on kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. Let's open this up and see if we can figure out what this stamp says. Let's just open this up. This may be a big mess. I hope not. Okay. Yeah, it's just got a little roll-on ball there, and there's definitely ink in it. Let's see. Does the ball move? I don't know. Maybe it's not supposed to move. Maybe you're just supposed to do this and the ink comes through the ball. I don't know. Let's see what we get. Nothing. So yeah, I guess the ink is not, there is ink in there, but this little roller ball is not rolling. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There it goes. We've got ink. Okay, here we go. Okay, now let's see if we can see what this says. All right, and here we go. It says AT&T proprietary something to company, pursuant to company instruction, I think. Something like that, but it definitely says AT&T proprietary. So this is a custom AT&T stamp. That's kind of cool. Okay, well, I want to show you some of those keyboards and see if that Model F is working, especially. So I went ahead and got out an IBM 5150. This is one that I fixed on the channel, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 videos ago. I can't remember now. Probably not even that many, because I haven't been releasing as many videos as I'd like to lately. But yeah, I can link to this if you want to go back and see me take a look at this and get it working and all that. But here we have a monitor. So in order to test the keyboards, we're going to need a computer and a monitor to see if the right keystrokes are appearing on the screen. And this is another monitor that I found at eWaste. Again, I wasn't able to get this on camera as I was walking around, but I thought this was pretty interesting because A, it's in good shape. B, it says Entre color monitor. So that means that this could be CGA or EGA, but it's definitely one of the two because I noticed when I picked this up on the back that we have a 9-pin connector, which is the standard back then for EGA and CGA. So it matches quite well with this. On the front here, we've got contrast, brightness, and power. And the power is on, so I'll just go ahead and turn that off. And I'll turn the contrast and brightness. Ooh, these are stiff. So this is going to need a little bit of restoration work itself, but hopefully it's working and not too much. I'll just turn those down for now so that when we turn this on, just in case there's a flat line in the middle, it won't burn into the phosphor. So that's the front. I've never heard of Entre. Have you? Definitely not. On the top here, we have this sticker. Let me see if I can get this off because it's starting to peel. And this sticker says $450. So I don't think that means $450. It must be some inventory system or something. Maybe someone was trying to sell this on eBay or something, but yeah, $450 going in the garbage. Now, it's always interesting to see what people bolt onto the side of their monitor. In this case, it looks like some sort of a security device because this is metal. Doesn't sound like it because this is plastic, but this is metal on one of those foam sticker things on the back. So I'm assuming maybe you would pass through your cable through here, the monitor cable, or I guess not the monitor cable, maybe I don't know what you would pass through here actually. The keyboard, I don't know what you would pass through there. I don't know what that's for, but it's definitely some sort of a security device, I would think. So if you know what this is all about, please let me know in the comments below. And then just a quick look at the back, we have what reveals what this, at least the manufacturer of this particular monitor is, and that's Tatung Company out of Taiwan. I don't know if that's the way you say that, but they make a lot of monitors. You'll see them when you start taking apart some of these monitors, especially the ones that have the screws on the side here. It seems like a lot of those were manufactured by Tatung and then relabeled to other brands as they brought them into the United States or Europe or other places. But on the back, it's a pretty simple affair. We've got a power connector, of course, the video cable. We've got vertical size and vertical hold, and then a horizontal center. Nothing really on the label that speaks to a date, but this had to have been mid to late 80s, I would say. There is one switch down here, and I had to look on my phone, but if this is what I think it is, this is actually makes this set so much more interesting. So it says down here GNA, and I was thinking GNA, what could that be? GNA. This could be green, neutral maybe, I don't know, and amber. Imagine if this set you could change from green to white to amber just with the click of this button. Boy, do I hope that's the case. Oh, this is going to be cool if this actually works. Okay, let me turn this around and we'll get it fired up and see what we can see. Okay, I've got the Model F hooked up. You guys know what a Model F is. You've seen other videos on it, I'm sure. If you're a fan of this channel, you're probably a fan of other channels where they've covered this before. Buckling springs. Ooh, yeah, that's the stuff right there. So let's go ahead and turn on the monitor first. Just make sure it doesn't blow up. Here we go. I get high voltage, the light comes on. I don't see any kind of vertical or horizontal lines. I can see the tube warming up though. Ooh, maybe that's just me, but it looks very bright over here and not so bright over here. Let's go ahead and turn up the brightness just in case something's off. I don't know if that's just degaussing or it looks like there's a coil problem or a magnet problem or something. This is completely dark over here and it's light everywhere else. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. That's actually a good sign that that it went dark. At least on this side, it was already dark over here, but it's kind of a good sign because that means it's getting a video signal. It's reacting to that video signal. Well, let's see if we get any post beeps. Yep, got a post beep. Not seeing anything on the screen. Why is that? Contrast and brightness are all the way up. Could be that I'm plugged in. I've got a dual port card back there. It could be that I'm plugged into the wrong video output. So let me change that around and see what happens. Okay. I unplugged the video from that port. That's what happened. Let's plug it into the other one. What do we get there? Oh, good. Let's see if we can do a Control-Alt-Delete on the keyboard. Yes, we can. The keyboard appears to be working. Oh, you know what? I bet our sync is off. I'm seeing like little patterns like this. I bet the sync is off. Hang on. So it could be I have an EGA to CGA mismatch here. I can't remember what card I have in there, so could be I've got the wrong type of card. Let me see if I can figure out which card is supposed to go with this and we'll try again. Okay, well, I forgot. I did actually go back and watch the video that I did on this e-waste find for the 5150 because it has a special card in it. It's the very first Paradise card, and that card has a multi-mode card in it, which will do MDA graphics, CGA modes and MDA modes, and composite output, color composite output. So, and I ended up that video on color composite, I think, or maybe MDA. Anyway, I ended up that video on not CGA mode. So this is a CGA card. It was a conflict on the screen, I think, and now I think I'm in CGA mode again. I had to go back and watch my own video for reference. So yeah, let's just go ahead and turn it on and see what we get. Sorry for my reach. And the 5150, the first time you power it on, if you do Control-Alt-Delete it, it does a faster boot. But the first time you put it on, that initial boot, it does take about a minute. So let's just do a little fast forward here and see if we get anything on the screen. Am I seeing something? No, not yet. Just a reflection for that post beep. Okay, there's the beep. Ooh, and I am seeing something. It's very flickery. Maybe that's just the vertical refresh. Let's turn on up the contrast. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, this looks good. I can see F6. Let me just go ahead and sneak back here and adjust the vertical refresh and see what we get. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes, there it is. I can see it. It's just gotta change the, I can't speak. I'm so excited. Gotta change the contrast. Yeah, there we go. Let me check the camera and see if it's flickering, but this is looking really good in person. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. It is looking great. And this is in color mode. I can tell because we've got some color up here on the XT to IDE thing up here at the top. We've booted into the C drive and we can go ahead and see if this keyboard is working, and indeed it appears to be. Now the keys, I'm keep hitting like weird keys and stuff because this is a Model F. I'm not used to a Model F, but we should be able to do caps lock. Yes, that is working. And yeah, num lock. Let's see. Yep, numbers are working. So yeah, this Model F, not only does it look beautiful, it's in great shape, just needs a little bit of a clean, but it is working 100%. And that's great because when you have to go in and do work on these, it is a bit of a pain in the butt with all the metal and the buckling springs and all that stuff they put in there. So yeah, I'll just give this thing a once over and this thing will be good to go. So we've got a working monitor, working keyboard. Now it's time to see about the switch in here, that switch that I think is an amber and green switch. Keep bumping the camera. So let me reach around and see if I can find it. Okay, I'm going to go one way. Oh yeah, it did. It went like blue for a second, but now it is totally amber. Look at that. That is awesome. This is so cool. Suddenly this monitor became a keeper. I was thinking about selling it or getting rid of it. Not anymore because I've got an amber screen. Let's see if I get a green screen. Yes, I do. Oh man, that looks so good. Wow. Okay. I mean, it's so weird to be so, I guess it's just part of nostalgia, right? The green screen, the amber screen. My roommate in college, he had a computer that he brought to school and it was an old like 286 or something and it had an amber screen. And so some of the first reports I wrote were on the amber screen. And then of course you've got the IBM 5151 monitor, which is a green screen, or at least most of them are, right? Am I getting that right? I think so. So you've got different types of green screens, different types of amber screens. They're just so nostalgic. This is super easy for my eyes to see too. This just looks so crisp and good. I'll try to get a close up. I don't know how it'll come out on camera, but I'll try to do a close up so you can see just how crisp this set is. This is a great monitor all of a sudden. Wow, that's awesome. All right, well, enough of me gushing over the monitor. The other keyboards, just so you know, I had a bunch of these AT&T keyboards. Let's see if I can find one for you. This one is interesting because I believe it's just a rubber dome keyboard. There's no date on it, but it does say AT&T up here. And on the bottom side, all of the FCC and model numbers, everything is copyright AT&T. So this AT&T apparently were making their own keyboards. And this one does have a switch, which I've just set to XT. So we could actually plug this in real quick and see if it works. Why not? Why the heck not? And I'm going to have to use an adapter because this has a PS2 style connector on it, but I have an adapter for that. Okay, it's plugged in. And yep, I am getting letters and numbers. So this keyboard is totally working and it works with both, assuming it works with PS2 and AT if you just flip that switch. This keyboard, on the other hand, looks, pretty much identical to a Model F with a few slight variations, but on the back of it, it says it has an AT. The code on the back is AT. So unless this thing is, and there's no switches on it. So unless this thing is an auto switching keyboard, which they did have a long time ago in the early days of these styles of computers, unless it's auto switching, I don't think it's going to work with an XT computer, but let's just go ahead and see. Okay, it's plugged in and no, nothing. So this is indeed an AT keyboard in a Model F form factor. Last but not least, there was 2 of these AT&T keyboards. The model number is KBD305C. Didn't do a whole lot of research on this, but I believe these are buckling springs. Maybe we should take off one of the keycaps and look. But I almost think this has a PS2 end on it, and I almost think that this is AT&T's answer to the Model M, because it's laid out identically to the Model M. For some reason, on both of these keyboards, the spacebar has yellowed, but none of the other keys have. So you've got these nice gray keys and the white keys for contrast. Really nice. We could try to plug this in, but I highly doubt that this has auto sensing, auto switching capability in it, but let's just go ahead and try it. I don't think it'll hurt anything. It's just that the protocol that the keyboard is sending is going to be different. Yeah, and I don't get anything. So this is PS2 only, and that's fine. No big deal. I didn't think that would work. But yeah, really nice keyboards. Very heavy. I would say as heavy as a Model M, and very nice. Let's just go ahead and pull one of these keycaps off real quick and see if it's buckling spring. Let's just go for L. I don't know why L. Oh, came right off. Yeah, sure enough, that is definitely a buckling spring. I don't know if these are compatible with Model M and Model F keys. I can't remember. I don't think so. I don't think they have this kind of stem on the inside. But that is for sure a buckling spring. I didn't know that there was really a whole lot of other buckling spring keyboards. Certainly didn't know that AT&T made a buckling spring keyboard. That is so cool. So what'd you think about those e-waste finds? Do you like this kind of video where I go to e-waste and kind of show my adventure there and then come back and we test things out? If you do, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to keep putting videos like this on this second channel. May even rename it to E-Waste Wednesday. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Here's a couple videos you can check out after this one. And yeah, thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.
End of line.